It's the end of the week, so it's time for your weekly reminder that Paolo, Banchero, and Franz Wagner are really good. And we got numbers to back it up today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is March 21st, 2025. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. Of course, find me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD and on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, it's a weekly reminder. I feel like we need to do this because things feel bleak. Why Paolo, Banchero, and Franz Wagner are still just so darn good, and why the numbers still back that up despite how much the Magic are struggling. We're going to get to that coming up here and begin to muse a little bit on the offseason. I don't want to spend too much time on that, but we'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. First, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. No matter when you listen to us, whether it's first in the morning, whether it's right when we upload, we truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. You can make Locked On Magic an even bigger part of your day with the Locked On Magic Daily newsletter, the one stop for ultimate team and league coverage, delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com. And start your day with the all-new free Locked On Magic newsletter. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. I get it. Everybody wants to get to offseason mode. It's probably the biggest impediment to the Magic actually making something of the rest of the season. It's the understanding and the realization that, yes, the best the Magic are probably going to be able to do this year is the 7 seed. And look, you get a trophy for winning the Southeast Division. It may feel like a Pyrrhic victory, but trophies are good. Put a trophy in front of me. I want to win it. That's how you have to have the mindset. And the Magic should absolutely be going for the Southeast Division Championship. Now, again, game and a half behind Atlanta. Atlanta plays Saturday against Golden State. Orlando plays tonight, Friday night against Washington. Washington has more wins since the All-Star break than Orlando. They're 6-8. Orlando is 5-9 or 5-8 or whatever it is. So let's not count that as a win quite yet. Should be a win, but Magic got to do their work. The Magic and Hawks are going to go to the end of the season on this. Unless Orlando is able to suddenly wake up and string together a bunch of wins, they're going to go to the end of the season with this. But we don't want to be 7th. Like, that's not where this season was supposed to be. And the sense that I get from fans is that let's just get to the offseason. Let's start fixing this thing. Honestly, whenever people come to me with offseason questions and offseason issues, I'm just like, look, we're going to have plenty of time to talk about that in the offseason. I don't want to burn that content. I don't want to think too much about it because we're thinking about it and how we're thinking about this team, but there is still work to do now. Having said that, there is a distinct feeling that work is cemented. There's very little that's going to change in the evaluation. Like, Wendell Carter isn't going to drastically improve and make you believe, this is a guy that is the answer at center, or, Anthony Black has a lot of questions about his consistency. I'm sure the Magic already have some understanding of whether they want to move on from him or where they're at with him and what it would cost to move off of him. All that is still in play. And frankly, the next 12 games isn't going to change that. And so it does very much feel like these 12 games are just kind of drifting to the end. But this is the important part for me. With all the questions and everything else that this season is about, it's important to remember that even with all of that, no matter how you want to slice it, no matter how you want to debate this, the Magic aren't far from the team they want to be, because Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner are really good. Like, really, really good. Like, impactful to winning good. as bad as the Magic have played, and since the All-Star break, they have a minus 2.2 net rating. Their stats are what their record is. Like, they are not outperforming their stats. But when Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner are on the floor together, the Magic have a plus 8.9 net rating, a 114.2 offensive rating, and a 105.3 defensive rating. That defense, by the way, would be first in the league. That is elite defense. Magic are a 109 defensive rating team. Offensively, 114 is still in the bottom of the league, but when you defend that well, you can score that little. The point is, after the All-Star break, now that Paolo is back to being Paolo, and even with Franz struggling the way that he struggled since the break, the Magic are an elite team. In fact, let's just put it this way. A plus 8.9 net rating would be tied for third among all teams. The Cavaliers and the Pistons are both plus 8.9 points per 100 possessions since the All-Star break. This is, again, just to say, right now, the Magic don't function when Paolo or Franz are off the floor. That's just the fact. Looking at it since the All-Star break. So this is just since the All-Star break. So yeah, smaller sample size. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. Since the All-Star break, the Orlando Magic have a plus 3.8 net rating with Franz on the floor. This is Franz and Paolo. So, just when Franz is on the floor. And are breaking even when Paolo's on the floor. 110.1 defensive rating. Defense is 2 points per 100 possessions better with Paolo on the floor. Again, some of that is who he's on the floor with and all that stuff. But this is, I think, the bigger point. For all the things that you can wrap your hands around, that you can wring your hands about, that you can be frustrated with this team, there is one thing the Magic have gotten absolutely right this season. And frankly, it is still the most important thing. I'm going to repeat that a million times. I did an episode on it a few weeks ago. The most important thing the Magic leave this season with is knowing they have two all-star players. Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner are going to be multi-time all-stars. They have more all-star games in them. And the only thing that would prevent them from both being in the all-star team is the Magic's record. And look, ultimately that is on them. The Magic's record is what it is because they both missed 20-plus games. The Magic's record is what it is because of all the injuries. Like, I'm still a fervent believer of that. But right now, the Magic don't function without Paolo and Franz. Just plain and simple. They don't function with them both on the floor. Since the All-Star break, the Orlando Magic have a minus 17.8 net rating when Franz Wagner is off the floor. 97.1 offensive rating and a 114.9 defensive rating. Lest you think there is some strange on-off stats going on or plus-minus magic going on. When Paolo Banchero's off the floor, the Magic have a minus 4.6 net rating. A 108.4 offensive rating, so below average, even for the Magic, and a 113 defensive rating. And again, continues to be the point, continues to be the fact that Paolo and Franz are playing at a very high level, that they twist and bend the defense in ways that no one else on this roster right now can. And they are the ones that have to carry the load. There's a reason Paolo and Franz both played 38 minutes against the Rockets. There's a reason that the biggest fear for this team are those minutes when they are separated and those like 2.5, 3 minutes in the first quarter when Jamal Mosley, for some unknown reason, has both of them off the floor. Paolo and Franz are really good. Like, that's not rocket. I mean, again, that's not like deep analysis. That's not like I'm not telling you some crazy hot take there. They're really good. But right now they are carrying just a huge burden. And they are doing that well enough to keep this team afloat and keep them in this race for 7th. There is still something to play for. And yeah, we should at least moderately judge Paolo and Franz for their ability to accomplish this goal. It's small potatoes. It's not what we wanted. But yeah, I will be disappointed if the Magic aren't hosting that 7-8 game. I will be disappointed if they don't get to hang a Southeast Division banner in their practice facility. They still do. I will be disappointed if the Earl Lloyd Trophy is not somewhere in the Ann Van Hilt Training Center. I don't know where last year's is. I want to see it. Make it happen, Joel. Paolo and Franz are the reason. And everything else springs from them. So what direction do the Magic need to go? If there's one thing this season has done is it has exposed a lot of deep-seated and inherent flaws on this team. So what's the biggest need to address? Let's talk a little bit about that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of the Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends at Upwork. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. Finding the right talent can be really tricky. So if you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who delivers incredible results. With fast and easy hiring, you can posting a job is free and simple. And within a day, you get multiple qualified candidates to choose from. Instead of hiring full-time, Upwork helps find affordable top-tier freelancers to scale your business efficiently. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's Upwork, UPWORK.com. Upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is also brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who is cutting down the nets. I've got my eye on a few underdogs this year. Some of them didn't come through for me yesterday, and FanDuel makes it easy to back them with spreads, totals, and game props. Best part is you're never out of the game because there's always another game to play. With tournament games happening almost every day, there's always something exciting to bet on. The FanDuel app is simple to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. No waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. The Orlando Magic have a lot of needs. I think the frustrating part about this season is it's a lost season because of injuries. The Magic did not get to see their full complement of players for very long. 5 games. We all can have different views of this season. And look, we're going to dive into a lot of them at the end of the season. I personally hold the belief that injuries are the reason why the Magic are the 7 seed or the 8 seed. I personally believe that injuries just derailed this season so deeply that it's just a wash. It's just a lost season. Like, yes, Paolo and Franz have stepped up. But I do believe that the Magic are a better team this year than they were last year if they were healthy. And if they were healthy, they'd be fighting for the 4, 5, 6, and because there's no room, the 7 seed. If the Magic were healthy, I think they would be fighting for all of their preseason goals. However, thus you think that would lead to complacency from Jeff Weltman. And I think he's still going to have a tendency to want to keep some continuity. I don't think he's looking to revamp the whole roster in one summer. I don't think that's his philosophy anyway. Even in a catastrophic season, I think we will expect to see some major moves. I'm expecting 3 new rotation players next year. And that's a lot. The Magic only replaced 2 rotation players last year. And that was a successful season. I am expecting 3 new rotation players, at least, maybe 4. The question is, where do you focus your attention and energy? You have limited resources, Obviously, you have limited avenues to do this because you have, trading is the only way the Magic are going to do this. And now you have to start navigating the aprons and the tax and all that stuff. So if the Magic could only pick one thing to fix this summer, and by fix, I mean fix. What is it? What is that fix? Shooting would be the obvious one. But honestly, the Magic tried to fix their shooting last summer. They added Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. And I think we are even seeing now, as much as KCP has struggled this year, now that KCP is starting to make shots a little bit more consistently, we're starting to see his value and what he brings to the team. Pair him with Jalen Suggs a little bit more often, and I think the defense picks back up and the defensive intensity picks back up because Jalen Suggs is just a floor raiser on that end. He's someone that forces the pace a little bit. And I know Kenny is coming off that 2 for 8 3-point shooting game, 4 for 12 overall against Houston. His numbers are still trending in the right direction. Since the All-Star break, he's shooting 36.6% from 3. In March, he is above 40% from 3. If the Magic go to Washington tonight, Kenny starts hitting shots again. Let's say he's 2 for 5. Let's say he's 2 for 4. Let's say he's 3 for 6. That could be enough. Now, again, the Magic need to improve shooting throughout the roster. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that. Franz Wagner needs to be a better shooter. Jalen Suggs needs to be a better shooter, especially the Magic need to get more spot-up opportunities where he was really successful. They need more shooting depth. Jet Howard has not turned into the player the Magic wanted him to be. Gary Harris just doesn't get involved. And so shooting is a skill the Magic need to add. But I'm not sure that's the focus, if that makes sense. Whoever they add needs to be able to hit threes. Let's make that unequivocal. I don't think, even if the Magic end up using their draft picks, I don't think they can use it on players who can't shoot. So Igor Demon, Ben Seraph, players who cannot shoot, especially guards who cannot shoot, just cross them off the list now, please. No matter the potential, no matter the athleticism, no matter the length, the size, whatever, cross them off the list. To me, the Magic's biggest need this summer is playmaking, creation, and just an attacking mindset. A lot of this season, among fans and among pundits who care enough about the Magic to talk about them, has been asking whether the Magic are right to go into the season without a point guard. Jalen Suggs is not a point guard in the traditional sense. The Magic, as I've stated, as I've hypothesized, is the Magic went into this season wanting to stretch and test the limits of what Paolo and Franz could do. How much responsibility could they give them before they kind of cracked? Before they kind of broke? And look, we found those limits this year. What would adding an organizer do for this team? Well, we kind of have some evidence of this. I looked up these numbers. I finally wrote this kind of long-awaited article that I was going to write last week about Corey Joseph. And luckily, he's still kind of hung around. Corey Joseph, since he's entered the starting lineup, March 4th was the first time he started. So since March 4th, averaging 7.3 points per game, 3.2 assists per game. Nothing crazy. But with Joseph on the floor since March 4th, the Magic have a plus 5.1 net rating with a stellar 118.3 offensive rating. Essentially, and again, the Magic don't have kind of a natural point guard on the roster. Anthony Black is close, but he's a rookie. He's still a second-year player. He's not consistent. I think there are fair questions whether Black is a point guard at this level. Whether that's fair or not is a debate for sure. But within the system that the Magic want to run, where there are multiple ball handlers, where the point guard maybe doesn't always bring the ball up or doesn't always initiate action, maybe Black isn't the right guy. And again, that's a huge question the Magic are going to have to ask themselves throughout the course of the offseason. But I think I think there is something to it that the Magic need an organizer. As Paolo Banchero said last summer, the Magic need a table setter. And Jalen Suggs may not be that. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope certainly isn't that. Cole Anthony isn't quite that. Corey Joseph is kind of there just to set the table because he don't want to eat. Like, love Corey, love him to death. Corey ain't there to take shots. Corey's not there to force action. He's there to get everyone settled, get things moving, stand in the corner and be available to shoot when it comes. And the numbers in even a small sample size suggest this. Plus 5.1 net rating, 118.3 offensive rating. When Corey Joseph is on the floor, you definitely feel the calmness of it. So the Magic, yes, need an organizer. They need a veteran in that starting lineup that can get guys going in the right direction. Well, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope checked some of the boxes the Magic are looking for. An excellent shooter, a solid veteran, a guy who's going to play well off of Paolo and Franz. And I don't think the Magic should necessarily give up on that. The Magic lacking that poise and calm to set things up has hurt them. And it's not just about the starting lineup. I am still a starting lineup truther on this. I think the Magic starting lineup is not the problem. I really don't think that's the problem. Since the All-Star break, the trio of Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Franz, Wagner, Paolo Banchero has a plus 13.7 net rating, a 117.3 offensive rating. When they're on the floor together, 287 minutes, not insignificant. When they're on the floor together, they are doing some good things. Looking at the bigger picture of the season, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Franz Wagner, and Paolo Banchero in a season where the Magic are struggling so much have a plus 0.6 net rating, 107.4 offensive, 106.8 defensive rating when that trio is on the floor. And again, a lot of that positivity is coming right now with Paolo healthy and playing a lot better. I honestly, yes, the starting lineup probably needs some improvements. Wendell Carter needs an upgrade. The Magic need a better version of Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Jalen Suggs has to be healthy, and that's a very big question mark still. The Magic, I think the Magic should focus their offseason attention on getting more offensive-minded players. Getting players who can create for themselves, can step into the starting lineup if needed, if player has hurt, can fill the scoring gaps, that just want to score. And getting a table setter, getting someone who can set this team up, organize them, both as a starter and off the bench, would go a long way. Lest you think I am for kind of staying complacent here. I don't think the Magic should be complacent. There are deep weaknesses on this team. But I think ultimately, the Magic must meaningfully address their offense this summer. The offense cannot be this bad anymore. This season was rock bottom in a year we were expecting to take a leap. And yeah, injuries played a role in that. Let's not pretend otherwise. But the Magic cannot function anymore without an offense that can carry a game. The Magic's offense cannot win them games. If the defense stinks, the offense is toast. It's that simple. The offense is so bad, it's hurting the defense. That can't happen anymore. And whatever the Magic have to do this summer to make that work, to make that functional, I'm not even saying work. Make it functional. Be average. Forget being a top 10 offense for a moment. Well, the Magic will have to get there eventually. Just be average next year. Be 15th. If you're 15th in offensive rating with how good we know this team's defense can be without sacrificing too much of your defensive identity, if you can be 15th next year, the Magic will be the 4 seed and hosting a playoff series. That's truth. The Magic got to figure out a way to get there. And that's the biggest task for the summer. So let's get back into this season because we'll have plenty of time to talk about the offseason. Are the Magic actually better since the All-Star break? We're going to talk about that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at 5 Hour Energy. Daylight savings really snuck up on us again. And if you're feeling that lost hour of sleep, like I have been lately, 5 Hour Energy has your back. The extra sunshine means more time for fun, but sometimes you need a little boost to power through. Whether you're staying up late watching the NCAA tournament, squeezing in around a golf after work, or just trying to keep up with your busy day, 5 Hour Energy gives you that quick, refreshing pick-me-up whenever you need it. Look, I stay up late. I'm recording this on the morning on Friday because after the Michigan-UC San Diego game, I just hit a wall and was just like, I need to lie down. Next thing you know, I wake up, it's 2:30. I'm just like, I'm not setting up to record a podcast at 2:30. I'll wait for the morning. Sorry for my morning listeners. You're going to get this one late today. 5 Hour Energy would be a big boost for me to help me power through that wall and finish my day strong so I can deliver for you, the people. Whether you're at a game or traveling, 5 Hour Energy is easy to grab and keeps you feeling refreshed. Head to 5hourenergy.com to find more than 15 flavors to choose from, including watermelon, blue raspberry, and peach mango. You can even build your own 12-pack or 24-pack delivered right to your door. Need one now? Grab a 5 Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. They're everywhere. Stock up today and stay energized with 5 Hour Energy.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
Ultimately, this is the question that matters because I said it at the top of the show, I expect the Magic to win the 7 seed. No offense to our friends in Atlanta. No offense to Locked On Hawks and all our friends and Brad Rowland and all our friends there. I expect the Magic to be the 7 seed. I will be look, this season's a disappointment as it is. I will be very disappointed if this team is not able to make the most of this time, these final 12 games, and find a way to get past Atlanta. Even if it is just beating the Hawks 3 times in a week, twice in the regular season and once in the play-in tournament, even if it's just doing that, I expect Orlando to host that play-in game. And honestly, no matter it doesn't change the disappointment of the season, but no matter how you feel, that should be the all-encompassing goal. That should be the only thing that matters. That is the only measure of success left this season. Again, small potatoes, not pretending otherwise. There's a lot of, it doesn't fix everything. It doesn't make everything okay this season, but you got to find meaning in these last 12 games. Again, you can't just be drifting to the end of the season. Chicago is sneaking up on you. They're 2 games back behind you. They own that tiebreaker too. So Orlando's got work to do and has to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. The question ultimately though is this. Since the All-Star break, are the Magic better? This is a point I made as the Magic were struggling through January. And I said, look, the promise of being healthy is out there. We still thought Jalen Suggs might come back. The promise of being healthy is out there. When they're healthy, this team will come together. They'll start looking more like themselves. And maybe they'll make a push for 6, but they'll be fine and make the most of this. Jamal Mosley in his first 3 seasons in Orlando has always had a better record after the All-Star break than his team had for the entire season. Jamal Mosley's teams have always finished strong. And that has been something Jamal Mosley has been saying for months now, that the goal is to play their best basketball in March and April. That the goal is to be better at this point of the season so that they're peaking for the playoffs, however you want to define that. And the fact of the matter is there are signs the Magic are playing better. There are. Statistically, they're playing better. Maybe not since the All-Star break. Since the All-Star break, Orlando is 20th in the league with a minus 2.2 net rating. They're 5-9. They've lost a ton of close games in the process. A 110.6 offensive rating is not good. A 112.7 defensive rating is worse than their season average. The team has not performed quite at the level they need to. They're 5-9. Washington, for example, is 6-8. New Orleans is 6-8. Charlotte is 5-12. It's not good when the Magic have fewer wins than outright tanking teams and aren't making up ground on the teams they need to make up ground on. Atlanta is 7-7. Orlando's lost 2 games on Atlanta since the All-Star break. The Raptors are 7-7. Now, there are some other outliers there. The Nuggets are 8-7. The Grizzlies are 7-9. Like the Magic are worse than these teams still, but the Magic have their work cut out for them. And they've got fewer games to do it because they played more games than everyone else. In March, though, just looking at March, so these last 21 days, the Magic are looking a little bit friskier. In their last 9 games, they are 3-6. But they've got a 112 offensive rating, so the offense has gotten a little bit better. As I've mentioned, they have 4 players shooting better than 40% from 3 right now in March, and a 112.8 defensive rating. Defense has settled in at 112, which is still really good. In March, a 112.8 defensive rating is 12th in the league. But the problem is the Magic are used to being the absolute best defensive team in the league, or one of the best defensive teams in the league, and they just haven't been able to play that way consistently. Ultimately, the issue for the Magic right now is just consistency. We know the talent that they have. We know what they're capable of doing at their peak. But the Magic haven't been able to hit their peak every night. And that is a reflection of personnel. Like Anthony Black is wildly inconsistent. He's either really good or really bad. And there's not a lot else off the bench besides him. They're leaning very heavily on Paolo and Franz. The Magic, don't know what they're going to get from Wendell Carter every night. Jonathan Isaac is playing better defensively, but for some reason isn't playing very much. There are just so many questions about this roster and who the Magic are relying on. The questions the Magic have to ask themselves every single night, especially with Cole Anthony now out. The Magic lose another key scorer. The Magic's bench used to be their superpower, and now it's their biggest weakness. Everything has to flow through Paolo and Franz because no one else can create. So are the Magic better? They are playing better. Record aside, stats aside, watch them play. They are playing better. Is playing better enough? Certainly in Wednesday's game against Houston, it was not. The Magic hit a lull for like 2-3 minutes, and that was the game. They couldn't catch up. Maybe against a team like Washington, they'll be able to, but they also lost to Toronto in the exact same way. Hit a lull, went down big, had to scramble to get back in. Toronto was bad enough and wanted to lose enough that the Magic were able to give themselves a chance to still win that game, but they still lost. Now, the Magic routed New Orleans. They had this great game against Cleveland. They had a really nice road trip, but even then, you see they're not able to play that 48-minute game. They're not able to play with consistent energy and intensity for 48 minutes. And maybe Jamal Mosley needs to do more about that. Maybe he needs to be more proactive to stop these runs. When the Magic are hitting that rut, burn a timeout. Calm everybody down. Bring some starters in. Play them a little bit heavier on minutes if you have to. Paolo and Franz are already there. The problem is still Jamal Mosley does not know, outside of Paolo and Franz, does not know what he's going to get from any other player on every single night. He doesn't. He doesn't know who he can lean on. And you see him searching with some of the rotation decisions he's making. He's searching for the guy he can lean on that particular night, not knowing if he'll be able to lean on him the next night. And that, to me, is the problem with the Magic. I say this all the time. The regular season is about what you can do every night on your worst night. On your worst night, what is the thing you can rely on? Well, right now, last year when the Magic had a bad night, their defense was still pretty good. Gave them a chance, gave them a fighting chance to find themselves. This year, when the Magic have a bad night, they have no chance to win. Just plain and simple. No chance to win. And that's the problem. That's why we're talking about the offseason already and why we're talking about how the Magic need to make significant improvements this offseason. And multiple significant improvements at that. It's going to be a multi-year process. That next year was supposed to be the year the Magic broke into title contention. That's not the case anymore. Next year, the Magic have to just reclaim their spot in the Eastern Conference. And then we'll see. And then we'll grow. And who knows? Things quick. You got to have a healthy season. You don't know. the Magic have a lot of work to do. And they have a lot of work to do in the short term as much as the long term. To answer the question, are the Magic better? Yeah, they are. But better isn't good enough. Not for the goals that this team should have. Not for the goals we're setting for this team. Not for where and who this Magic team knows they can be. They showed us on the road trip. They showed us against Cleveland. They showed us for 40 minutes against Minnesota. They showed us again for 46, 45 minutes against Milwaukee. Exactly what they're capable of. But they still don't have 48 minutes to their name. Even New Orleans, they didn't play 48 minutes. They don't have 48 minutes to their name. And that's the challenge for these final 12 games. Find us 48 minutes. And if they can't, it's going to be a little bit of a bumpy ride coming home. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Apologies again for getting this out late. Again, like I said, I hit a wall last night. Knew I had a morning episode, gave that this morning, so I'm giving this one the afternoon. So thank you all for tuning in. I apologize for being off schedule. We'll be back on schedule probably tonight. I'll probably record tonight after the game. So we'll be back on schedule for tomorrow's episode as we recap the Magic's game against the Washington Wizards. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Find me on Twitter at @PhilipRR_OMD and on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. You can subscribe to the podcast at Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all of them sell podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. You can check us out on YouTube as well. Just search for Locked On Magic, and we're on Instagram too at Locked On Magic. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us there on Twitter at OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, be sure to check out the Locked On Magic Daily Newsletter, the one-stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com, and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Magic Newsletter. I'll be writing that almost immediately after I finish recording this today. So still got time if you're listening to this live. That's going to do it for me today, though. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. We'll be back tomorrow to chat about the Orlando Magic's game against the Washington Wizards. Until then, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.